Hey guys, welcome to Through the Bible Verse by Verse, a plain and simple study of the entire Bible, book by book, chapter by chapter, and verse by verse. Currently we're in Deuteronomy chapter 33, and these are, again, the final moments, literally the final moments of Moses. He's going to cite this song and then literally leave them. He's going to close out his farewell address. The whole entire book of Deuteronomy, remember, was Moses' farewell message. And I will say this, I think leaders, if they are in a position to, whether it is death, right, some kind of death or leaving their congregations, whatever, if it is possible that they should give these kinds of farewell addresses to strengthen the people as they move on in their next journey without them. And Moses is doing that. And of course, Moses, this is what you call setting your house in order. Where Moses he's giving them the instruction. They're hearing it from Moses, the man of God. So the passing on of leadership, all of this is what you would call setting your house in order. All right, so let's get to it. Again, this is he had given a song, and now this is a blessing. This is a blessing. The song was kind of rough, if you remember, back in chapter 32. The song was rough, and now this is going to be a blessing before he again exits. So verse 1 says, "This is the blessing that Moses, the man of God, pronounced on the Israelites before his death." Now remember, his death is literally just after he finishes this, he's going to go up into the mountains. Verse 2, he said, "The Lord came from Sinai and dawned over them from Seir. He shone forth from Mount Paran. He came with myriads of holy ones from the south, from his mountain slopes." Now, the myriads of holy ones refers to angels here. Verse 3, "Surely it is you who love the people. All the holy ones are in your hands. At your feet they bow down, and from you receive instruction. The law that Moses gave us, the possession of the assemblies of Jacob. He was king over Jeshurun. And when the leaders of the people assembled, along with the tribes of Israel." Now, as he's going to kind of spell out these blessings now for kind of each of the sons or descendants of Jacob, right? So verse 1 says, verse 6, "Let Reuben live and not die, nor his people be few. And this he said about Judah, hear the Lord, the cry of Judah. Bring him to his people. With his own hand he defends his cause. Oh, be his help against his foes." About Levi he says, "Your Thummim and Urim belong to your faithful servant to test him at Massah. You contended with him at the waters of Meribah." Now, kind of interesting when he says this here, because actually Moses is the one that contended. But remember, the Levites, Moses was from the tribe of Levi, Moses and Aaron. And then the Thummim and Urim was it was kind of a divining device where they would kind of get a sign from God. They would seek that if they would say, "Lord, which way should we go?" It's kind of hard to tell what this thing looked like. It was like a little thing that they kind of carried along with them. Verse 9, he said of his father and mother, "I have no regard for them." He did not recognize his brothers or acknowledge his own children, but he watched over your word and guarded your covenant. He teaches your precepts to Jacob and your law to Israel. He offers incense before you, the whole burnt offerings on your altars. Bless all his skills, Lord, and be pleased with the works of his hands. Strike down those who rise against him. his foes till they rise no more. About Benjamin he said, let the beloved of the Lord rest secure in him, for he shields him all day long. And the one the Lord loves rests between his shoulders. About Joseph he says, may the Lord bless his land with the precious dew from heaven above, and with the deep waters that lie below. The beasts, and with the best the sun brings forth, and the finest the moon can yield, with the choicest gifts the ancient mountains, and the fruitless of the everlasting hills, and with the best gifts of the earth and its fullness, and the favor of him who dwells in the burning bush. Let all these rest on the head of Joseph, in the brow of a prince among his brothers. In majesty he is like the firstborn bull, with his horns are the horns of a wild ox. With them he will gore the nations, even those at the end of the earth. Such are the 10,000s of Ephraim, such are the thousands of Manasseh. Now Ephraim and Manasseh was Joseph's sons, you remember. About Zebulun he said, rejoice, Zebulun, in your going out, and you, Issachar, in your tents. They will summon people to the mountains, and there offer sacrifice of righteousness of the righteous, and they will feast on the abundance of the seas, on the treasures hidden in the sands. About Gad he said, blessed is he who enlarges Gad's domain. Gad lives there like a lion, tearing at the arm or head. He chooses the best land for himself, and the leader's portion was kept from him. And when the heads of the people assembled, he carried out the Lord's righteous will, and his judgments concerning Israel. About Dan he said, Dan is a lion's cub springing out Bashan. And Naphtali he said, Naphtali is abounding with favor of the Lord, and is full of blessings. He will inherit southward to the lake. About Asher he said, most blessed of his sons Asher, let him be favored by his brothers, and let him bathe his feet in oil. The bolts of your gates will be iron and bronze, and your strength will equal your days. There is no one like the God of Jezreel, who rides across the heavens to help you on the sky, on the clouds of his majesty. The eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are your everlasting arms. He will drive out your enemies before you, saying, destroy them. So Israel will live in safety. Jacob will dwell secure in the land of the grain and new wine, where the heavens drop dew. Blessed are you, Israel, who is like you, a people saved by the Lord. He is your shield and helper, and your glorious. Let me read that again, verse 29 again. Blessed are you, Israel, who is like you, a people saved by the Lord. He is your shield and your helper, and your glorious sword. Your enemies will cower before you, and you will tread in your heights. Now, this is very interesting. Like I say, he's pronouncing this blessing on them, and then ultimately, the blessings will come to pass. The blessings will come to pass in a future sense. Okay. All right. Now, chapter 34. This is the death of Moses. As I said, now he has finished all of his the commands, rehashing the commands, going over the commandments, the leadership, dividing of the land, the passing of the who would lead them. And I meant to say what the priesthood would be, the worship. So in a sense, now he's done. Moses is done. He's like, okay, goodbye. All right. So verse 34 says, then Moses climbed Mount Nebo from the plains of Moab to the top of Pisha across from Jericho. And again, so again, as he finished his class. Now remember, the Bible, the books of the Bible were not written with verses and chapters in mind. Keep that in mind. Remember, always remember that. So what you have is a continual narrative. Okay, so we went from chapter 33 to chapter 34. In reality, there was no chapter 33 to 34. And the reason why I'm saying that, because I want you to keep this in your mind here, that Moses just pronounced the blessing on the people and literally leaves. He goes up in the mountains. The people are watching him. They do not follow him. And they see him disappear up into the mountains. Now, what is also interesting about this is that this time when Moses disappears into the mountains, there's no cloud, there's no glory cloud, from the Lord. He doesn't disappear into a cloud. He just disappeared as he climbs up, and they never see Moses again. Okay, the people doesn't. Now, here's the interesting thing. Let me read this, and then I'm going to come back, because here's what I'm going to ask the question and kind of file it in your mind just for a moment. So who wrote chapter 34? All right, so I'll come back to that. All right, so then it says, then Moses climbed Mount Nebo from the plains of Moab to the top of Pisha, across from Jericho. There the Lord showed him the whole land, from Gilead to Dan, from all of Naphtali, the territory of Ephraim and Manasseh, all the land of Judah as far as the Mediterranean Sea, the Negev, and the whole region of the valley of Jericho, the city of palms as far as Zoar. The Lord said to him, this is the land I promised on an oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, when I said, I will give it to your descendants. I have let you see it with your eyes, but you will not cross over it. Now, I would also have to say that there might be some supernatural activity going on here. This is what I mean. That God might have enlarged him to be able to see the land. If you're looking out over land, you have to kind of think, how far on a clear day can you see? And it's possible you could probably see anywhere from 5 to 10 miles. Now, I say that because I used to work in high-rise buildings. And one of the things I used to love about being in high-rise buildings is I had access, because of my job, I had access to the roofs. And I could see on clear days across, far out from the cities into the suburbs. And there would sometimes be certain landmarks that you could kind of see and say, okay, that's that location. So again, about anywhere from 5 to 10 miles. I'm saying God might have even empowered Moses to even see even further and clearly the land. Verse 5, and Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in Moab, as the Lord had said. He buried him in Moab, in the valley opposite Beth Peor. But to this day, no one knows where his grave is. Moses was 120 years old when he died, yet his eyes was not weak, nor his strength gone. The Israelites grieved for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days, until the time of weeping and mourning was over. It says, now Joshua, the son of Nun, was filled with the spirit of wisdom, because Moses had laid his hands on him. So the Israelites listened to him and did what the Lord had commanded Moses. Now we'll get more into Joshua, of course, when we get into the book of Joshua itself. It says, since then no prophet has risen like Moses in Israel, like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, who did all those signs and wonders, and sent him to do in Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all his officials, and to the whole land. For no one has ever shown the mighty power and performed the awesome deeds that Moses did in the sight of Israel. Now that's kind of true. When you think about all of the kind of signs and wonders that Moses did. Now, obviously Jesus would do greater signs. And remember that God had also said that he would raise up a prophet. Moses becomes sort of a template. And this is why when Jesus came, that the Israelites should have received him, because Jesus did these mighty signs and wonders. Now, what is interesting, I told you to kind of think about this now. Let me go back and let's see here. Oh, where is it at? When it says Moses died, that's what I'm looking for here. I just want to put a brief note on here. I just had it. Why can I find this here, guys? Okay, wait a minute. Oh, here it is, verse 5, right here. Okay. It says, so, look at verse 5. It says, and Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in Moab, as the Lord has said, and he buried him in Moab. Now, so, my question is, who wrote this last section here? Right? In other words, is Moses writing about his own death? Now, all scripture is given by inspiration. Okay? And so whoever wrote it, this last section here is very interesting, wrote it under the inspiration of the Lord. And the reason why we have to say that is because no one saw Moses' death. No one went up with Moses in the mountain. So how would whoever is writing this know this now? Or did Moses write this down prophetically and then leave it someplace? Well, we don't know. Now, as we move forward, of course, we will see in each almost book of the book, each book from here all the way to Esther, that there's this kind of style of writing, these postscripts here. And for example, you would see that you would see some of the same thing that you see here, that when it says verse 9 that Joshua the son of Nun was filled with wisdom because Moses had laid his hands on him. So the Israelites listened to him and did what the Lord had commanded Moses. So these things seem to be written after Moses' death. Now some people believe that Ezra the scribe wrote it. And what we're going to see is that, especially like again from Joshua went on, we won't really know who the authors are. And they will have these kind of postscripts in here. Now we don't know. Now even Moses, the authorship of Moses is in question and debated about. In other words, these first 5 books, that they're debated as to if Moses actually read them. Now for sure, you can almost say that this last chapter here, Moses didn't write it because he's been writing about his own death. Now another interesting thing here, we go back to verse 5, that it said the Lord buried him. And notice it says, but to this day, and go back to verse 6 again. Well, I'll read verse 5. And Moses, servant of the Lord, died there in Moab, as the Lord had said. He buried him, meaning the Lord buried him in Moab. They said in the valley opposite Peor. But to this day, no one knows where his grave is. Now think about that. No one knows where his grave is. So whoever's writing this, how would they know, right? We also know from the book of Jude that there was this, that the archangel Michael was dispatched to bury Moses, and Satan actually tussled over the body of Moses until Michael just simply said, "The Lord rebuke you." So kind of interesting, kind of what's going on here. Okay, guys. So this is the close now of the first 5 books of Moses. We go into Joshua in the next study, and so we move on now to the next generation, as they will enter into the land of Israel, right? The promised land, without Moses. And so this is again very interesting. All right, guys, so I will see you in the next study, where we will pick up with Joshua. We'll get a little more into this kind of detail, but the whole death of Moses is very interesting, right? Where you got God burying Moses. Again, remember, the people don't see this. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next study.